Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be showing you optimum SAM placement and just some general strategies when you're building scenarios with surface-to-air missile batteries. Now you probably noticed we're chilling over here by North Ireland and regular Ireland, and the reason I've chosen this is it allows me to provide a lot of really good little examples of kind of what to do, what not to do. So the first things first deals with the placement of the SAM site itself. Now, when I place SAM sites, one of the things you have to keep in mind is they're usually designed to protect something. They're not just like there to annoy the player. Like, I know that sounds weird, but the reality is, if you're trying to protect, Dublin or something along those lines, or, anything on the Irish or North Irish coast, we need to make sure the SAM site is actually defending it. One of the mistakes that I always would do is I look, oh, we're going to protect Ireland from, invaders. I come to the middle and press insert. We come in here, we do facilities, we get ourselves an S400 because, why not? There we go. We'll grab one of these, toss this right in the middle, and haha, look at that. I win. I protected all of Ireland with one SAM site. Yes, they do have that range, by the way, and that is the effective range of these weapons. Is that disgusting? But the reality is, this is not the best placement for a SAM site. Let's say our interest was Belfast, for example. Kind of chilling up here. Maybe those giant shipyard cranes. Don't ask me the names. I think one's Goliath. I always forget the other one. But maybe those shipyard cranes need to be protected from damage because it's a ship port or something along those lines. So this would be the region where we'd want to go ahead and set up our SAM site. Now, the big thing with SAM sites is you have to consider things in terms of protecting the zone as well as not being destroyed quickly and easily. And a lot of times those two things kind of contradict each other. But the good news is there's one easy method we can use for this, and that's bringing up the relief layer. So let me pop that sucker open real quick. As you can see, this region is it's got a bit of a valley going on here. You've got some mountains on either side. You've got a very, very lovely kind of bay in here and everything along those lines. And we need to design things in such a way that we can kind of cover this without really leaving ourselves exposed. This brings up the first problem people have usually, and that's the fact that people tend to put SAM sites in places like this. So let's go ahead and grab my SAM site. I'll go ahead and toss it right there. This is definitely going to have a pretty good view. If we were to switch to an open topo map real quick here, you can actually see we've got really good coverage of downtown here. So this is actually not bad at all, kind of a thing like that. The problem is this isn't very practical. And if I were to go up to my little map settings up at the top, hit line of sight tool, and just give it a second, you realize that my incredibly effective SAM site can only see this entire region, which also means if I was a cruise missile and I was launched in this direction, I could come over the top of this mountain and drop right on top of this. And now the distance here is, I think that's about 1.5 miles. I don't know about you, but I can do the math on that pretty quick. That's about 15 seconds travel time for your average cruise missile. There's no way this SAM is ever going to get a missile back off. So it's basically worthless because I can destroy it that quickly. Obviously against an asymmetrical threat, again, why are we using an S400 against an asymmetrical threat? Yeah, it's going to be a little different, but against a modern threat with cruise missiles, this is basically pointless. You're going to get your SAM site blown up before you can use it. Not worth it. So you're sitting here going, okay, fine. What if we move it downtown? Okay, well, we'll move it downtown. Let's see if that improves things a little bit. Let's see here. Losses in setting. That'd be kind of interesting. Okay. Downtown's actually quite a bit better. Of course, this is probably in the way of the museum downtown, but that'll be okay. That's better. That's better. And you can see here the closest mountain here is about 2.5 miles. It's about 20 seconds. A very, very quick SAM crew might be able to get a missile off and defend itself in that distance. So this is better. So you're saying, okay, that's fine. Obviously, you want us to go on a mountain nearby. Yes, obviously, that's what we were going to do. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to use my mouse here with the relief layer to try to identify something that's up nice and high. Let's see here. I saw 1,000 feet a second ago. There we go. Achoo. Now he's up there. Let's see here. Anything taller here? 531. Okay, not bad. Not bad. Let's see what this does for us. Let's go back to that little line of sight tool. And we can see that that is gorgeous. I can see everything that's coming through the water, nothing that's coming from the mountains behind us. Now keep in mind, our target altitude might be the same as our observer. If I flip that switch right there and hit refresh, my computer's going to lag massively. And you can see we actually have gorgeous coverage, but we actually completely blindsided our SAM sites behind us. We actually can't see anything behind us. That is one of the fun things about all this. And if I move my mouse about here again, you can zoom in to help yourself out a little bit here. Let's see here. It's about 1,000 feet. It's about 908. Let's see if there's something a little bit higher here. Let's try popping them over here and see if that improves the situation a little bit. And again, this is part of the fun. And the nice thing is in the real world, things are a little more obvious sometimes with line of sight, but that ain't bad. Of course, look at this. We're not protecting our city anymore. Such is the life. C'est la vie, c'est la vie. So the cool thing here, as you're probably noticing, is that there really is no sweet spot. If we were to put it right here, we have beautiful coverage to the water. If we put it back here, we'd have much better coverage, basically, in the whole region. And you have to kind of decide what is the bigger threat. Generally, when you're defending something this important, you're probably going to have two SAM sites anyway. But one of the things I do want to share, though, is if you ever have trouble finding where to pop one of these as far as altitude goes, one of the other tricks that works really well is if you open up the OpenTopo map real quick, you can actually see the hills. So like, for example, if I'm not going to pronounce this one correctly, the Ule Hill here over here, and you can actually see it's pretty high up, and it actually will mark up with a little mark there. There's Galloway Hill over here, kind of a thing like that. We have Colin, we have Black Hill over here. We can see we actually got this right. This is Divis. There's actually a thing up here already. I would be surprised if there is a radar site. So we actually have kind of a little bit of realism, completely unintentionally there. But the cool thing there is you can see immediately sort of how to place these things. And a lot of times in OpenTopo map, they'll actually give you the heights. Like I can see Black Hill is 360. I can see Divis is about 478. And you can just kind of get literally the lay of the land is the best way to get the hang of these sorts of things. Actually, I'm curious about this one. How high is it? It says 312. So not doing so hot, not doing so hot. But again, that's a great way to kind of help you out. But let's say, you know what? Sorry, you're going to have to defend down here anyway. It's just too risky. You say, okay, let me put it downtown. So now we create a new problem. And I like to call this problem range baiting. So right now, if I were to go flip on the relief layer again, let's pop this on. This is very helpful today. You will notice that I have a range around me of mountains that are about 5 or 6 miles or so. Now you're sitting here going, okay, so what? So what? Obviously you want to engage anything that gets that close to you. The answer is absolutely we won't engage anything that gets that close to us. However, we also want to avoid a classic player strategy. So I'm going to come down here. I'm going to actually replace this with a Nike. No, let's do an SA6. Let's make it challenging. All right, an SA6, I'll do the Cub. Actually, the Caveat, this is kind of the new one, but that's fine too. There we go. Look at that. Let's flip on to sensors. Yeah, it looks good. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yes! This is going to be so irritating. I can't wait. So we can see here, we've got my SA6 downtown. It's looking pretty good. I'm actually going to make it auto-discoverable just for my demonstration purposes here. And let me show you what I mean by range baiting real quick. Let's go switch to the other team. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to intentionally use a classic strategy in both the real world as well as the lovely program here. And that is tricking this guy into firing and wasting his missiles by destroying terrain instead of our expensive aeroplanes. So as you remember, we intentionally placed this unit inside of this valley. And as you remember also, we doesn't have a lot of room before there are a bunch of mountains in the way, which means I, as an F-16, just have to get myself low enough so that I can hide behind this, but be still in range. And you can see our range bracket we're about to enter in just a few seconds here. So watch this. So what I'm going to do is drop his range down to about 1,000 feet. Now, the highest thing here is about 1,000 feet, which is going to be perfect for us. And the other thing I'm going to do is actually order him not to use automatic evasion. I will do it manually. Watch this. So my F-16 continues to descend. He's just kind of cruising down, losing all sorts of altitude. About 15,000 feet. My SA6, I set them to ace, by the way, so they're not messing around when it comes to this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull an oblique here. We're going to go a little to the side, and we're going to keep our altitude at about 2,000 feet. I don't know why they got rid of the data here for 2,000 feet. I must have messed something up somewhere. There we go. That's gorgeous. So right now our SA6 batteries, look at their F-16 going. Just get a little closer. A little closer. That's it. Get in range. Come on in. Now, the best thing, if you really want to be a jerk, send him down to loiter speed. Look at this. Just kind of, this is obvious. Obvious bait is obvious. But you can see we're just about in range here. This is going to be so funny. All right. Okay, take your shot, SA6. Take your shot. Take your shot. One of the things you can do if you're really, really mean with this strategy is you can actually pull in just a little bit. I'm going to pull towards him. See, this is the problem, is that we have to work out the arrangement here. Actually, I think he's too low for us to hit. Whoops. All right, let's go up to 5,000 feet. Okay, I'm being a little reckless here. Usually I get my calculator out and do this correctly, but you'll see the strategy. You'll see what I'm doing here. All right, we're well within range here. I want to see what the SA6 is waiting for. Probably getting within the firing. Oh, he's friendly. That definitely explains why they did not engage. I'm sitting there going, man, why is he not firing? This is the world's most patient crew. All right, posture, set him to hostile. There we go. That's what I'm talking about. All right, here we go. Now he's going to fire. Let's see here. Anything blocking his line of sight? I just want to inspect. Actually, we'll just kind of push him along here. 1, 2. Cool. Let's switch back to the team here. All right, now watch this. This is the hard part. There it is. There, see the missile? See the launch? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my F-16. I'm going to order him to go dropping down to minimum altitude here. Watch this, watch this, watch this. It's a minimum altitude. Look at this, look at this. It's blind! So as you can see, I can actually have my F-16 go up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, and waste this entire battery's ammunition until it's over. So again, if I pop them up back up to 12,000 feet here, go ahead and unpause. Let's see if I can get him to do another cheap shot. Go ahead, take your shot. 12,000 is too high. He should be a lot lower. I should keep him down to like 8,000 or something like that. Come on, take your shot. Take your shot. Come on, SA-6. I hate SA-6s. I hate them so much. I've been shot down by them way too many times in Falcon. Come on, take your shot. You're going to do it. Look at this. I'm turning towards you. I've got bombs. I'm going to drop bombs on you. And the SA-6 battery sitting there going, what is this guy doing? Do you want me to come up and knock? Huh. That is the world's most patient SA-6 battery. I am super impressed. Anytime now, SA-6 battery. Anytime. Actually, I'm kind of curious. I'm going to switch to the team real quick and see why he's not taking the shot. I might still be really, really low or something. Whoops. Control-V, Shift-1. Let's see here. What is it doing here? It's on the magazines. Launch at max range. High maneuverability target. Interesting. This is the world's most patient crew. But regardless, let's get back to what I was trying to explain here. What are you waiting for? There you go. All right, so now the F-16 just has to go bloop, minimum altitude. Watch this. And we wasted 2 more SA-6s into the woods there. Okay, you get the idea. Okay, so how do we prevent that? Well, the trick here is all you have to really do, see how one blind? All you have to do is order him not to fire at targets that are going to be in excess of his ability to basically duck like I just showed you a few seconds ago. Now, the cool thing is we noticed the nearest mountain's about 2.4 miles away. This is about 3. This is about 3. Obviously, we have this long valley. So what we'll do is we'll intentionally limit our range to a stupid 5 miles. Now, watch this. Control F9. Now we'll go to our WRA. We'll go to this one, and we'll drop it all the way down to 5 miles, which seems silly, but it actually isn't a bad thing. There we go, 5 miles, 5 miles, 5 miles. Obviously, against things like cruise missiles, this is going to be a little different, but we can change that in here too. This is just for demonstration purposes. 5 miles, we'll go down here, 5 miles, 5 miles, and I'm also going to make sure this entire side is allowed to engage willy-nilly. Optimistic, let's see here, engage opportunities. Yes, engage opportunities. Don't sit there leaving me hanging, not on YouTube. All right, let's head back. So let's grab my F-16 here. We'll grab the same one we had before. We'll load them up with some wind-corrected munitions dispensers. Fantastic. Okay, so let's aim this way, drop him down to minimum altitude. Now, as before, we're sneaking up on him, and we're going to try to get him to take a shot at us. So if I pop up a little bit here, again, there's a mountain about 1,000 feet right here. So we're just going to get him to take the shot. Go ahead, take the shot. I'm going to see if I can pull him up just a little bit. And you'll see that he is not falling for it. That SAM sight isn't going to do anything to engage us right now. We're completely within his range, and there's the shot. Now, the interesting thing is all I have to do now is turn around and go basically to ground here. Nope, you're auto-evading. Don't auto-evade. No! As you can see, he auto-evaded, which was the wrong thing to do. It would have been safer to just dive below. But what you'll notice there is he engaged him when he was 5 miles away, basically preventing this from happening. Again, defending Belfast like this is absurd. Put it up on the hill like that. The next thing, and this is important, is making sure you align the system that you're using for the SAM site towards the incoming threat. Now, certain types of SAM systems, the S-400, for example, don't have this issue, but systems like this Patriot definitely does, and the THAAD. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here. I'm going to go flip his radar on real quick, and you'll observe that the radar has a limited range in which it can see. This is also a limited range in which it can actually engage. So if we knew the threat was coming from the east here, we have to actually align this battery towards the threat. Now, the annoying thing is you can't actually change this. So keep in mind, wherever you point this as a scenario editor is going to be where it's actually going to be going. All right, so we have our unit properties here. I'm just going to arrange this real quick. And in my blindness, I did not realize set orientation is here now. All right, so what I could do now is I can just make a quick little adjustment. And now this radar is covering this entire region, which is going to be the only zone in which I can actually engage stuff. Another tip when it comes to landing down SAMs is making sure that you separate the battalion radar from the local radar. What do I mean by that? If I were to grab, let's say an SA2, for example, I think this is actually going to be the best visual for you. Grab the D/E model, which is the classic one. You'll notice if you click on it and press your sensors that you have your TV camera, your eyeballs, you have the Fansong E, which is the basically fire control radar, and you have a Spoonrest C, which is basically going to be your search radar. So when you're designing sets like this, one of the strategies I really like to do is to actually create a separate unit for the purposes of the actual radar itself. Now, there's a couple different philosophies to this. One thing you can do is I can press insert, and I can actually come in here and type in Spoonrest. As an example, I can just pop it in there like that, press OK. And now I've isolated the search radar from the actual fire control radar. Now, if you want to take this a little bit further, what you can actually do is go to the battery itself. Again, this is all in the mission editor. And I can actually remove that completely, which means that we basically snapped the radar off and put it somewhere else. Now, one of the cool things here is if you want to mess with players, and like who doesn't want to mess with players, right? One of the things you could do is actually create a dummy SA2 battery. And I'm going to actually rename this SA2 battery radar, for example, search radar. Now, the reason I did that is I'm actually going to come in here and I'm going to clean all this stuff out. And this is so cruel. This is so cruel. I'm going to leave the SAMs because I'm a jerk. And I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that one. So what we've done here, what did I do? I got rid of the one radar I actually needed to keep. Psi, Spoonrest C. Let's add it back in. There we go. So what I've done is I've just left the Spoonrest vehicle here, and I've essentially called this an SA2. So if I come down here and actually switch this to be not auto-detectable, let's make this one not auto-detectable as well. While I'm at it, I might as well delete the Spoonrest here, because technically I deleted the radar already. So what I have here is two SA2s. One's the battery, one's the radar. So if I come in here now and actually flip the sensor on, we now have pretty good coverage. And it's actually kind of fun, because it says we have a range, even though we don't have a range. It's just kind of funny. But the important thing here is if I were to switch to the other side real quick, let me shut off God's eye view here, grab my F-16, because, F-16s are good for this kind of demonstration. F-16 CM-BLK 52 is the correct F-16. There's the one, and we'll switch to the HARM missile. Watch this. All right, so I'm cruising along, I'm doing my F-16 thing. I've detected a SAM. Aha, an SA2. I've detected the search battery radar. Oh no, where's the SAM itself? Now, if you did not rename that to search battery radar, actually, I think, let me check my settings real quick here. I might have it set, so nope, I don't. If I did not call this SA2 battery search radar and left it as SA2, the player might go, aha, this will be easy. I'll hit you with a HARM missile. The HARM missile gets launched. Look at this. And splattered. I win. War's over. I destroyed the SAM site. I don't have to worry about anything. But surprise, the actual SAM site that has the business end of the SAMs, which would be, of course, the missiles themselves, is completely operable. But keep in mind, we did just cripple the search radar. So unfortunately, our poor SAM site down here, unless he's got a really good pair of binoculars, is not going to be able to see our F-16 hanging out here. So kind of keep that in mind. So one of the things you can do is if you're a real jerk, and again, depends on how much of a jerk you want to be here, you can come in here and you can do generic cameras and stuff like that, just to be like really, really mean. If I do LLTV, for example, we'll do it as the name. I just went generic LLTV. You can do surveillance. Watch this. Now, if I unpause, we actually have the ability to spot the target. So if I mark him as hostile now, the SAM site will still operate just fine. And it's just kind of one of those things that I find kind of funny, that even though we got the battery radar, as long as you have a visual on the target, you can still take your shot. And the reason we're not taking a shot here, too, is we're a little bit too steep here, but that's okay. You get the idea. And then the last tip I will say about setting up SAMs is not to leave them undefended themselves. What do I mean by this? Let's say, for example, I wanted to come down here and I wanted to do something like put down, we'll do THAAD, because this is a great example of this. Grab myself a classic THAAD. It just feels weird. Go ahead and right-click on that sucker. We need to get its radar view. Again, we'll assume the Canadians feel like shooting a bunch of missiles at us today, so we'll set the orientation. Snap this thing around so it's aimed generally towards Canada, kind of a deal. But the reality is it's obviously got this dead zone behind it. And again, this is an anti-ballistic missile radar. It's not really a SAM, but it'll work fine for us either way. Well, technically it's a SAM. But one of the things you could do to kind of eliminate that is set this up with a little bit of local defense when you're actually building the scenario. Now, for local defense, there's a lot of little things you can do here. For example, NAMSAMs, if we're dealing with this one. NASAMs, I always get it, NASAMs. There it is, NASAMs. And what we can do here is actually pop this one down. I love the fact that it says that it's the United States Army all alone. There's the radar itself, and I think the United States Air Force, right there. So we can actually pop this thing here, and it's basically a little truck with basically AIM-120 missiles just sort of hanging out. And it gives it a little bit more protection than just sort of sitting on its own. So again, some sneaky F-16 can get quite the surprise when all of a sudden it discovers that this one's sitting here. Other things I do too with SAM batteries, is I love this trick, is if you run up to the hill real quickly here and you go to facility, you can do observer. And if you set up an observation post or even a generic observation post, they can actually provide you with a kind of a visual coverage of the region, making it so much harder to sneak up on. The other thing you can do too to make this even more tricky is you can also set up some AAA. I really like AAA, and it's a really fun way to surprise players. But one of the things you could do, for example, is if you expect the player to come through this little valley here, you can come down here and just pop some AAA right there. So again, we don't have a lot of AAA anymore in the United States. They've definitely come down on that, but if we wanted to, what am I thinking? Linebackers, the one I'm thinking here. That'll do it. Even though we don't use them anymore, you can pop that thing right there and basically hang out, waiting for anybody silly enough to try to fly through this particular point. Then, of course, since they know they'd be going for the THAAD, most things would be coming in this way. You could even come to like this little valley right here and set up, again, this is all hypothetical, but we'll put a Zeus here, because why not? Actually, no, we'll be good. We'll be good. We'll grab that one right there. Fantastic. So now if I switch to the other side real quick, I'll grab the other blue team. I'll grab my F-16 one more time, and you'll demonstrate just how irritating this has just gotten. So it's sort of swinging down here with my F-16. I can see there's a wide variety of targets there. And again, nothing beats infantrymen with a Stinger missile. Those things work great. But I can see there's all sorts of mobile targets, and I'm really, really unsure which one I'm going to go. Of course, intelligence has told me that the one I really want to target is that one right there. Well, they're all going to be hostile. But that's the one I want right there on the left. So what I'll do is I'll get ready in F-16 mode. I'll get my little plan going here. I'm going to go this way, and I'm going to kind of hang around here, and then I'm going to go diving straight for it at maximum speed. I'll go drop myself down to minimum altitude here, and this will be easy. I'm going to do some solid F-16ing action here. Just cruising along, doing my thing. Of course, I'm burning fuel like crazy. Hey, you're an F-16. You only have an hour of gas left, ever. Buddy and I have a running joke about the F-16 that it's not really an F-16 unless the fuel warning is flashing. It's like, it must be parked and the engine off. Oh, look at how easy this is. Oh, they thought they could trick me. Look at this. I'm sneaking up. I got this mountain to cover me. I'm just a couple feet off the ground. I'm going to get all my stuff all queued up and ready to rock here. Lock onto this here. I'll go hit this with the Maverick IR. And I don't know what this thing is, but I'll hit that with the Maverick IR too. Come ripping around the corner. Oh, no! Surprise! You didn't know that that was a hostile target, did you? And you can see my poor F-16 has a much more interesting afternoon now. Now, of course, he's like, oh, well, this is going to go on for a minute, but I kind of enjoy it. So as you can see, there's a wide variety of strategies that you can use to make SAMs more effective. Of course, the big thing there is obviously placement. Making them a little bit harder to defend works really, really, really well. Mixing them up with different types really makes things like this really, really, really irritating. And again, if I had a bunch of Tomahawks and I came back, I could probably be a little irritating, but it's not going to make a difference in the long run here. Now, if I pop this guy up to maximum altitude, I don't think that's going to get me more range here. I don't think so. We're going to try. Weapons away. Actually, I think I got out of range of my own Mavericks. All right, did I get out of range of the Mavericks? Yeah, I did. All right, let me back myself up. I actually got to get lower because I'm too high for my own weapons. There we go, right into the danger zone. There we go, finally. Of course, what happened? The NAMSAMs ran out of ammo. So, unfortunately, I still win. Oh, no, I didn't! Isn't that awesome? Other than that, enjoy.